Okay, all right. So I'll call this meeting to order at the November meeting of the Economic Development Committee of West Perth. Confirmation of the agenda. I need a mover and a seconder. Steve and Ted, all in favor? Good. Selena, you soon got to slow down. There you go. The adoption of the minutes from September 23rd. The minutes be adopted. I need a mover and a seconder. Nathan and Coralie, all in favor? That's enough. Good. Any business arising from those minutes? Did everybody get a chance to read them? Okay. Just remember, Coralie, I can see you say yes and shake your head, but you're off. So reports. We're going to jump right to Clara Leaney. Leaney? And Sarah Franklin. Hey, we hired somebody new at the county?
Yeah, so I'm just going to quickly introduce Clara. So Clara joined our team recently as our Digital Service Squad team member through a new program through Digital Main Street. And she's just going to give you a bit of a presentation about the services she's offering while she's with our team. And then after she's done, I'm going to jump into a few updates from the county. So I'll let you take it away, Clara.
Great. Well, really lovely to meet everybody. I am Clara. I am your Digital Service Squad team member. So I was brought on a couple weeks ago, and essentially I am working for Perth County, but as well Digital Main Street. So Digital Main Street is an Ontario-wide initiative with the goal to bring small businesses any type of digital assistance that will help to kind of enhance their online presence and thus their ability to thrive in these really kind of challenging times when, you know, a lot of sales are being directed to those kind of online channels. So the first expansion of the Digital Main Street program actually helped over 15,000 businesses better position themselves through the pandemic. My role specifically is essentially to provide one-on-one support to small businesses in Perth County. So I am servicing North Perth, West Perth, Perth South, and Perth East. So all of the county with the exception of Stratford and St. Mary's. So really focusing on the more rural areas. My contract runs for the next few months. So I am here again, just to provide that assistance to businesses for as long as they need. So right now, the project is kind of twofold. There is a more time-sensitive element to it, which is that Digital Main Street is offering what they're calling a digital transformation grant. So this grant is a $2,500 grant available to eligible businesses in the area, but the deadline to apply is November 30th. So we're really inching up there. Now the application process has sort of 3 steps. The first being the business would go online and complete a digital assessment, which essentially just gives them a checklist where they really thriving in terms of online presence, where do they need to maybe make some adjustments. And then that's really helpful, you know, just in terms of pivoting online anyways. So after the digital assessment is completed, there's a series of training videos that businesses need to sort of guide themselves through. They're all provided by Digital Main Street. It's a really sort of user-friendly platform, which is fantastic. And then the third element to this grant application procedure is creating the actual grant proposal. So this is really where I'm coming in with these businesses that are interested in applying for the grant, is I can help them put this proposal together. And the proposal will detail how they're going to use the funds. So which online platforms do they want to onboard? Are there sort of videography or photography or web development services that they think would really benefit them? And just kind of going through that list that they created in the digital assessment to decide which tools are going to be most advantageous for them to be using. So that's, you know, really a priority right now, just in terms of the time sensitivity, right? We've still got 12 days to get as many businesses applied as we can. That being said, my role with the county is to continue providing this ongoing support. So whether a business applies for this grant or not, they still absolutely qualify to have me, the Digital Service Squad, provide them with any assistance that they're needing. So that assistance can look like one-on-one coaching and support, helping them to conduct this digital assessment, improving their Google My Business listing and sort of onboarding some different analytics technologies, helping them with social media, website development, e-commerce setup is a huge one that I've been doing a lot of work with businesses on lately, taking 360 photos to improve their business listings, and then helping them to apply for this grant. So really anything that falls under the digital assistance category, I am there to help them with, which is fantastic. There are a couple caveats to the program. In terms of digital assistance, I can kind of point whoever in the direction of resources that might be most useful to them. To qualify for the Digital Main Street Transformation Grant, the businesses do have to have a storefront. So they don't necessarily need to be on a main street, but those businesses do have to have a storefront and pay commercial property taxes, just sort of part of that logistical side of it. That being said, here we go. That being said, businesses that don't have a storefront, so this would be, perhaps an artist selling out of their home, or somebody who, is providing an insurance service out of their home, for example. So still a small business without a storefront. Digital Main Street absolutely offers programs that will help them to become more digitally viable. So essentially, I know this was a lot of information, but I am really here as a resource. I'm a free resource, which is also really fantastic and something that I'm really trying to get across to businesses. There's no cost associated with me working with them. There will be some costs associated if they're interested in onboarding certain technologies, but again, that's where this grant comes in, which is really fantastic. So I would absolutely encourage, if there's anybody who knows of a business who would maybe benefit from this assistance or this grant, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm reachable. My email here is being shared on the screen. So it's cleany@perthcounty.ca. Alternatively, there is some information on the subpage of Perth County's website. Digital Main Street's website itself also has a lot of great resources. So there's tons of resources out there right now, just in terms of training, knowledge, grants available. And I'm kind of acting as the liaison to help connect businesses with those resources in the area for the next few months. So like I said, I know that was a lot, but if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer those now, or I can be reached via email at any time.
Any questions? I see we have two new people. Michelle's here and Christina's here. Christina? Turn your mic on.
Sorry, I was late. I had internet issues. I couldn't connect. I do have a question. I think I know somebody who signed up for some Digital Main Street assistance.
Okay.
It was when the pandemic was kind of in full swing, and they're not necessarily super happy with the direction the website design is going. Partially that's because it's very difficult for them to get stuff together because they're very busy doing the actual running the business thing themselves. Would the grant stuff potentially allow them to hire outside people to put that kind of stuff together? Like, how would that work for them exactly?
Absolutely. So the grant is applicable to any sort of digital service or technology that would help them to transform digitally. So in that case, in terms of website design, it would absolutely be a qualifier to sort of outsource that development. The goal really eventually for these small businesses is to, be kind of training them to eventually become self-sufficient, right? So small business owners wear a lot of hats all of the time, right? Every day is different. So I completely understand that. A way that I think I could probably be of assistance to this business owner would be to point them in the direction of some resources or contracted services, AKA web developers that would be able to help them in that context, but also really just to take the time to walk them through, okay, when you do want to make these changes, how can I empower you to feel like you can do that? So it would be kind of twofold there, but absolutely there would be elements of the grant that we could make work for those purposes.
Okay, cool. Then I will send them a message.
Did you catch the email, the address for her?
I didn't.
That was on the bottom of the little thing, cleany@perthcounty.ca.
Yep.
So
Can you-
CLENEY@perthcounty.ca.
Thank you. So CLENEY.
Yep, at Perth
Okay,
County.
Perth County. Cool. Thanks.
Oh, there it is again on the
Oh,
screen.
hooray.
I think too, if I can just add quickly to what Clara has said, she's there as kind of as a resource to coach businesses, but there's so much to the digital world, and I think it's really important for everyone to know if they're talking to other people in the business community who could benefit from this, that she's really there to meet business owners where they're at and not necessarily overwhelm anybody with too much digital technology. If onboarding you to one social media platform is all you're ready to handle at this point, then that's what she can do. If your skills are way ahead of that, she is able to help you with that too. So she can really customize and meet one-on-one with businesses to help them gauge where their strengths are and where might be the best next step for them in the digital world.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Sarah.
So Sarah, do you want to just continue on then?
Sure,
For the county
absolutely.
report?
Does anyone have any more questions for Claire? Because I am going to let her sneak off if she doesn't have anybody else with any questions. Looks like you're good to go, Clara.
Okay, great. And I'm reachable by email anytime. Thank you so much for having me, guys. It was great to meet all of you, and hopefully we'll see you around soon.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. Is everyone able to see that presentation?
Yes,
Oh, something
Wow.
just happened.
we were.
Sorry about that. Technology. How about now? Yes, okay, I see some thumbs up. Okay, so as you just met Clara, she's a lovely addition to our team. One thing I will mention is we're hosting some information sessions, just really quick Zoom meetings for business owners to pop in to learn more about the program. So we've promoted this through our social media accounts, so you can find those times. You just have to email Clara. She'll send you a Zoom link or send a Zoom link to a business owner. It's just kind of the same introduction to the program that you just heard today. She'll run through that. We're hosting 2 sessions, one on tomorrow, November 19th at 12:30, and then we're going to do another one on November 23rd at 5 p.m. We may add more as demand rises, but for now, those are the 2 sessions that we have scheduled for that. So beyond that, I have a couple of different things I'm going to update you on. The first is probably the biggest news for our region is the PC Connect transit service has now launched. Some of you may have heard already about the service launching on November 16th. They're hosting an official ribbon cutting ceremony next week. The service is intended to serve not only circulating people within Perth County, but also connecting to neighboring regions like London and Kitchener-Waterloo. So there's 5 routes, and I'll show you a little bit of that later. 2 of them are operated by the county and 3 are operated by the city of Stratford, but everything is underneath the PC Connect banner. And it really is a partnership between the municipalities to get the service running. The buses are fully accessible with new permanent PC Connect branded buses coming in 2021. And they're operating on a fixed schedule from Monday to Saturday, starting as early as 6 a.m. Currently, there's 1 stop in West Perth at the community center in Mitchell, but they're going to be doing a fair bit of assessment, particularly over these first months on ridership. They're going to be gathering some feedback and information from those who've ridden the service and understanding information from those who maybe haven't tried the service yet and what changes can be made. So there is a chance that more stops could be added as demand builds and as feedback is gathered. There's of course there are COVID-19 precautions in place. There's mandatory face coverings. They're minimizing the capacity on the buses, reduced to 50%, and they're increasing the sanitization of the buses as a whole. And right now, to encourage new ridership, they have 50% off fares right now until January. So they've really created a simple system to book a ride. There's a phone number to call. You just arrive at the bus stop 5 minutes in advance and you pay by exact change in the fare box on the bus. We have created a website specifically dedicated to PC Connect on the Perth County website. So it's just perthcounty.ca/PC Connect. And Maggie Martin, who is our transit project coordinator, is your best contact if you have questions about the service. But a lot of information is available also on the website. So here's a little bit about the routes. There's Route A and Route B are the Perth County operated routes, and then Route 1, 2, and 3 are the Stratford operated routes. So you can see they've really tried to connect things and interlace them, so they're kind of allowing people to circulate throughout the county, but also connect to major transit hubs in KW as well as London. The next item I wanted to update you on is a new campaign that we've launched called Take the Pledge. We all know that Main Street businesses have been hit particularly hard by the COVID-19 pandemic, and as the situation continues to evolve, we wanted to encourage people to shop locally this holiday season. So the pledge works like this. You visit perthcounty.ca/take the pledge, and you pledge to do at least 70% of your holiday shopping locally this year. And by doing so and filling in the form, you're entered to win a $1,000 Perth County shopping spree. Another kind of component to this is the social media campaign. You see here on the kind of bottom right-hand corner, there's Jill from Jillian's. You know, encouraging people to sort of understand the benefit of shopping local, and we're posting these images of business owners across the county, really kind of driving home what it means to a local business owner when people spend their dollars locally. The next thing I just wanted to mention is our team is also undertaking some business outreach calls. You know, we did some surveys early on in the pandemic, and we really kind of have the sense that people are pretty surveyed out at this point. And we wanted a chance to connect one-on-one with business owners across different sectors to find out sort of how things are going, where they're at, how the pandemic has affected them so far, if they're seeing any big changes or anticipating any big changes over the next coming months. So we've sort of picked a selection of businesses located across the county, across different sectors, different sizes. Some are new businesses, some are well established, to understand how the pandemic continues to affect them, and also more importantly, what kind of services we can be providing in economic development and tourism to assist them, whether that's webinars or additional marketing assistance or programming. You know, it's our chance to kind of have those one-on-one conversations with business owners. I've already called a few this week, and they're great conversations and I think really valuable. It's amazing what you can get out of a phone call over a plain survey. So it's enjoyable for me because I get a chance to connect with different businesses and continue to build those relationships and really hear that one-on-one experience of how everything is going given the situation. And lastly, I just wanted to mention coming kind of early in the new year, we're going to be expanding our farm gate program. Many of you may recall our Discover More Flavor farm gate map, our award-winning map that has done so well and has really had some great uptake in this region. We're going to be doing a reprint of it because it's been a couple of years since we did the original data gathering. We want to make sure our farm gates are all up to date. But a great component of it that we're now going to be able to expand is a signage side of things. So what you're going to start seeing popping up across the county is local farm gates and stands with farm gate signage, which is amazing because for people who are maybe visiting the region from outside the region, aren't used to driving down a country road, don't know what to expect, the signage is really going to help to draw visitors to where they need to go, the right laneway, to the right outbuilding. So we're pretty excited to be able to expand that component as well. And that's all I have right now for my update. I know we're going to be doing a bit of conversation later on some other items. But if you have any questions about any of what I've shared, I'd be happy to answer them.
Anything for Sarah? Michelle?
Michelle?
Sorry. So I just had a question in regards to the bus route. I've seen it posted on Facebook and I've seen the ad in the newspapers, and maybe I've missed it, but was there any television coverage? Like did Kitchener or London TV stations were they ever approached to say, hey, listen, we now have a connection to your cities from our areas, and get it on the news that way? Has that ever been done, or did I miss it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I know, thank you for that, Michelle. I know Maggie's been tracking the media coverage because of the communications side of my role. I have seen some uptake in the Kitchener-Waterloo region. For example, I believe it was Waterloo Transit posted a photo of our signage and somebody getting on the bus. And so they're well aware of it. In terms of TV coverage specifically, I can't speak to that. I'm not sure if we've received any stories on the news about it. We've certainly sent out a lot of press releases. We've also sent out a media advisory in advance of Monday's official launch, which is kind of more of a ceremonial ribbon cutting kind of situation. So usually with media advisories, it gives television stations a chance to bring their equipment and come out to that sort of thing. So I would actually anticipate we might get some out of that ribbon cutting ceremony next week. So it's still kind of only a couple days old, the service running. So, but yes, right. I know Maggie's trying a number of different avenues to spread the word.
Okay, because I know I've certainly noticed it, but I knew it was coming. My husband does the same Facebook and the same checking of media, and he never saw it. So that's why I was asking about the TV news, where I know if it would have been on the news, he would have said, oh, hey, we're getting a bus route in Mitchell. Right. Yeah. So I just, there's probably a small demographic there that would benefit. It was just a question. Thank you.
Certainly. Thank you.
Anything else for Sarah? Oh, Corley.
Sarah, any thought of communicating with the colleges or universities about it, the service?
So I know that Maggie's marketing plan is quite extensive, and I don't know all the ins and outs of it. I share an office with her, so occasionally we cross paths and I hear pieces of it. That's a great point about connecting with colleges, and I'm not sure how many students are doing the commute at this point, given that a fair bit is virtual right now, but it is definitely another outreach point. I know for us, when we do workforce recruitment, like I usually will physically attend job fairs at universities and colleges, but also in other areas, but we're doing a lot of virtual workforce recruitment right now as well. And this will be a selling feature that we're absolutely going to talk to students about who don't own cars yet, and aren't quite at that stage of life. So I'll make a note of it, and I can ask Maggie specifically whether she's thought about targeting that area, but I do know she's got some components of the marketing plan that are yet to be rolled out. She's taking a bit of a phased approach and working with some different organizations. So that's sort of the information I have at this point, but I can definitely mention that to her.
And I think it could go both ways, both students, from Mitchell going to Fanchar, Conestoga, wherever, but also, co-op students, for example, coming to the rural areas, which Certainly. Is sometimes a challenge. Okay, thanks.
Stephen?
Yep, thank
you.
Turn
your mic on. Don't, Steve, turn your mic on.
Sorry. For the parking at the community center, is there some type of sign so people know where to park? Like in Mitchell, like obviously the arena parking lot's quite a large area. Just curious.
I can answer
that would be a Jeff question.
Yeah, I can answer that one, Sarah. We're not telling them necessarily where to park, but we have a sign up where they gather, which is by the door. So under the covered front door. And we're hoping that we get wildly successful, and we have to start to ask them to park away from the doors so they don't take up all the first spots, but that'll come in time.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else for Sarah? Seeing nothing, thank you. We'll move on to Jeff.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen. I really only have one slide for updates, and then if we move into the next agenda item, I'll keep the screen. I'll come back to the screen share. So I have a few very quick municipal updates, and you've heard about most of these, so I'm not going to say a lot. Henry Street Bridge is now open. It opened on schedule, and we were on budget. The West Perth Fire Hall, we're anticipating it being complete approximately mid-December. You folks will notice we've got a base coat of asphalt on. We'll be putting top coat on in the spring and doing a bit of the fencing work in the spring. And we anticipate the clock going in the next couple of weeks. So we're moving along very nicely and very happy with the aesthetic of the building. The electric vehicle charging station at the corner of St. David and Ontario should go in any day. And then we'll have that charging station in place. It'll be actually 2 spaces for charging electric vehicles. The West Perth Village project, the building permit was issued a few weeks ago. Work started on stripping a couple of weeks ago for the redevelopment of 128 Class A beds. And that project is coming along, and we had a sort of ceremonial groundbreaking there on Monday, one of the coldest winds I've ever been out in. And then I'll mention that the Perth Care for Kids facility is doing a large expansion at their Mitchell site, which is up next to Upper Thames Elementary, and that project is coming along. I know it's underway, but I think it's very close to completion. And finally, I want to mention that the municipality chose Moncton for its location. It's kind of the best spot in terms of maximum benefit for a gas extension. And so there was a program out there for gas extensions, and the Enbridge Gas had to apply. So the Moncton Natural Gas Expansion Project was included as part of the Enbridge submissions of proposals to the Ontario Energy Board for the review. And this is under the Natural Gas Expansion Program. The Ontario Energy Board submitted its project assessment report to the Ministry of Energy, Northern Development and Mines at the end of October. And we're expecting to hear the ministry's decision, or OEB, the Ontario Energy Board, is expecting to hear the ministry's decision anytime now. So we'll find out if we've got a program in place for support to expand natural gas to Moncton. And I should mention that this application was jointly made by supported by North Perth and West Perth. And if there are any questions, I'll unshare my screen and I will do my best to answer them.
Any questions for Jeff about those 5 bullet points? Steve?
Jeff, I have one for you about the Enbridge expansion in Moncton. Is that an ongoing thing with the provincial government? Because where I live out here in Russellville, there's several people that are very interested in having natural gas. What's the process? How do we go about it?
So great question, Steve. So what happened is Enbridge had identified Moncton as kind of the next place where they could most economically get the gas to them and have the number of customers to make a viable proposal under the current program. So if we can get Moncton in this round, then the next time we'll turn our attention to the next community where the best viability is. And so when I've learned to say Enbridge because I always said Union Gas, but they're now Enbridge. And so Enbridge will be looking forward to where their next community is. And if you want to reach out to Enbridge and make sure you're on the radar, I can help you with that.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Any other questions for Jeff before we get into the next topic, which will be questions for Jeff? Selena?
Yeah, just about the Enbridge expansion as well. So it's a joint application between North Perth and West Perth. Would the expansion be coming down Highway 23 from Mitchell, or would it be coming from Listowel Way?
Great question, and actually, it might come across line 55. My expectation is it would come across line 55 from the Rostock Road across to Moncton.
Okay.
But we actually don't know those details. The application is made by Enbridge, and they'll look at it because I believe they've got natural gas as far down as Atwood Resources. And so if we look at that site going further, it's almost the same distance for the three choices. And so we're not sure which one they'll pick.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? All right, we'll move on to the business industry and agriculture newsletter. We talked about this last month, Jeff.
Great. Yes, thank you. And I'm going to share my screen. I believe you've got it there. So we're going to do, we've been working on this, and I really want to acknowledge Sarah's been a big help, and Kristen has been a really big help. Kristen sort of is in the background all the time for these meetings.
Jeff.
Kristen has been a big help. And
Jeff, I just have a picture of a big hole in a rock. I think it's in New Zealand.
Oh, really? Okay, good. I can change
Girl running across my screen. I don't know what everybody else had.
I love that picture. All right, I'll give you this one.
It's your screen picture. All right, there we go.
Thank you, Doug. You could have let me do my whole presentation with the hole in the rock. So Kristen's been really helpful in keeping us all together. So we're working on, we would have liked to had a draft of the newsletter, but we really have had a lot of discussions about content. And so we have this overview to give you about overall format. We've got updates on how we plan to distribute, our timing, our budget, what we have available and how we propose to use it. And then we'll get to content. And I think when we get that all on the table, we're going to want to stop and get your feedback. So I'll start with some of the first slides, and then we'll turn it over to Sarah. So we're looking at the format being about, we think, 8 pages. We've just taken a look at general content, and we think 8 pages is the right pocket. We don't want to say too much about any particular initiative, but we want to say a little bit about a lot. So we think we can easily use up 8 pages with graphics. The pages would be 8.5 by 11. And I want to just mention, and Sarah, don't hesitate to jump in on any of these slides, but I know Sarah would want me to say that this is the example I've given you is the West Perth Community Profile, which is using the Perth County color template. For this newsletter for economic development for West Perth, we would actually use a West Perth color palette. So you would see West Perth marks the heron and the blues and the whites and the grays that are more of the West Perth palette. What I've selected here, though, is 3 pages out of that profile. And if anyone hasn't seen the West Perth business profile, it's outstanding, and we'll obviously be promoting it in our economic development newsletter. But it's about, I think, 12 pages. And this just gives you an example of how the graphic design looks and how the content is framed. We'll do our own thing, but we would sort of anticipating it having this kind of look. On distribution plan proposal, we're proposing 500 print copies. And actually, I'll say right now, I think we're going to talk to you about perhaps reducing that to 400. And that'll come up later in the talk about budget. We're thinking we would mail about in the high 200s out to the business, industry, and agricultural lists. So every year we mail out the invitation for the business breakfast. We tried one year doing it digitally by email, and it wasn't very effective. So we went back to mail. So we would mail out this newsletter to that mailing list. We would also distribute paper copies to West Perth Council and perhaps some others, maybe County Council, and then we would have lots of paper copies available. We would actively promote this newsletter being available through social media, and what we would do is we would include a link in our a link to the economic development newsletter in our municipal newsletter that goes out with our tax notices. and our tax notices will be going in January. So, you know, any of you get a tax notice, you all do, I think. There's a little 11 or an 8.5 by 14 newsletter, and we would put a little piece in there. And I think the key thing I want to mention is that in our social media and in our municipal newsletter, we intend to put a little note in there that says, if you call this number and you enter extension 221, we'll mail you a paper copy if you would like one. And we might even put something in the newspaper to that effect. And if we have wild success on that, that's great. We'll pay for extra printing. So, because some people, we'd say to them, drop around the municipal office and pick them up, but this is COVID and none of the conventional things work. I do want to mention just at this point that the municipality is also planning to do a year in review newsletter for West Perth, which would more broadly cover topics of roads and infrastructure, the fire hall, recreation projects, and things like that. Probably a fairly similar format, probably distributed in a similar way and having its own look, but it wouldn't have that base mailing list, and we wouldn't mail it with the tax notice. We would simply mail that if anyone wants to see it, to come to the website or call for a paper copy. So you'll see that the content we're proposing for the economic development newsletter is more about economic initiatives and not broader municipal initiatives. I'm relieved that you came back, Steve. I was afraid I said something. Now, timing. We anticipate that we would complete the content by December 9th. The writing would be completed by December 9th. There's a lot of writing to be done by the county and, or at least rewriting of current existing articles. Some writing that I have to do. We would have some graphic design work done on it completed by about the 18th of December, and we would get it off to the printer on December 21st. We would anticipate having it back early January. On January 6th, we would aim to be putting them in boxes and mailing them out. We might very well have the BIA set delivered by the BIA coordinator, like hand delivered to the stores, which is a very effective way for us to communicate with that audience. And we probably would just not mail those, but hand deliver them. And I would remind you that we were talking about having a public participation meeting of economic development at the January 20th meeting. And I have a slide coming up on that. But I would just mention in this case that the mail out on January 6th would make sure it got to homes, and we would have a little advertisement in there about, if you want to see more about economic development in West Perth, tune in to the January 20th meeting, and they would reach out by email or phone call to Kristen, and we would provide them with a web link for the Zoom meeting. So we're anticipating that January 20th meeting would involve presentations of essentially the content of the newsletter and perhaps some others if we want to pick them. And we would promote that in this particular newsletter. On budget, we have $2,000 that we spend on the breakfast every year. The Economic Development Committee has some additional budget that we're carrying, so we don't have to panic if we go $400 or $500 over, but also we have that $2,000 as a target, and depending how good of an axe thrower you are, that could be a close hit to the target, or you could miss by a mile, but we'll try to get it close. If we did 500 newsletter prints at 8 pages, full color with bleeds, finished size 8.5 by 11, we're in around $895 or $815 plus taxes. Now we get most of that tax back because of the municipal rebate program. So we're in, $800 to $900 in there. The design and layout for electronic use as well as printed, the graphic design services we would take through the county supplier, and we have an $800 estimate for that for the 8-page layout that we're looking at using the West Perth colors. And then mailing, if we mailed all if we mail them, it's 8 pages, 8.5 by 11 in a 9 by 12 envelope, so we don't have to fold them, about $1.89 a piece on our mail machine. So assuming that we print 500 and assuming we get design services to that level, if we want it to be that professional looking, and we could downgrade that a bit, but I think it's worthwhile making it nice looking. Assuming that we end up mailing 275 or so to that mailing list for the business directory and 125 on requests, that would put us around $2,460 budget. So not far. I mean, that's a fairly good, fairly well in line with the budget. And if we were successful and did that much, I think we would consider this to be a very good use of the money. And then I would say, again, I just want to mention on these various topics that, again, we may say go down to maybe only print 400 and then maybe do an extra print run or make prints if we need them. And so we might approach that. We had an estimate for 500 and we couldn't get a new estimate for 400 before the meeting. And if it's no difference in price, we'll obviously go with 500. So we can make those choices within this overall budget, assuming that we have the consensus of the committee that we're heading in the right direction. So I'd like to take a little pause there before we go into content and see if there's any questions.
Anybody have a question for Jeff? Seeing none. Oh, Christina.
Yeah, I just was a little bit curious about the budget for design. Do you have somebody that has already quoted that? Because as a designer myself, for such a large project, it seems a little on the low side.
So I'll mention, and maybe Sarah can come back in and answer. We have, I think we use a regular, Sarah got the price. We have someone that we use very regularly that's got the templates kind of all built. And
Oh, okay,
changing
then
the color palette.
That
So
changes it.
yeah, so I think
totally, that makes sense.
It's a bit of a plug and play that way, and that's the benefit. Yeah. Okay, I covered that fairly, Sarah. Yeah. Okay, great. Any other questions? And if not, I'll get on to content where I can split it with Sarah and myself. All right. So screen share again. We'll share the second screen, not the first one. And away we go. Okay, on to content. We're thinking approximately 4 pages of West Perth, what I generate. It's all West Perth content, frankly, but some of it is county projects and some of it is West Perth projects. And so this is kind of who's writing what. So the West Perth part, I'll cover quickly on the next 2 or 3 slides, and then we'll ask Sarah to cover the county projects that they intend to speak about. I'll remind you, it's a bit of a year in review. So I'm anticipating an initial article about why a newsletter. So information about the Economic Development Committee, some of the top economic development issues facing West Perth, and I'll just mention that list has been pretty consistent in the 5 years that I've been here, and it is the need for employees. There has been a long experience here, especially skilled employees, youth retention and attraction, transportation, housing, and a need for not only more housing, but a mix of housing, entry level, seniors oriented, apartments, freehold, condominiums, and then a bit about what's been emerging is more about broadband connectivity. So that little article would just talk about our main issues that come up and are talked about by the committee. And then a little quick thing about, the reason we're proposing a newsletter, or the reason you're getting a newsletter, is we normally do a breakfast. I would like to promote the committee a little bit. And so we were anticipating a little short article that talks about that the committee has a terms of reference, and this is who the members are. With your support, I think we would actually like to do a little, just say your name and have your picture. we promise a good picture. So I will come back and actually try to remember to get whether or not there's consensus we can do that. And then we'll maybe ask you to send in a selfie. Or we'll come up with a way of getting your photos. We'd like to have an article on West Perth community, just a little bit about what West Perth is, who West Perth is. So just take a bit of content from the community profiles around our industry sector and where our jobs are, and some of the data that comes out of the 2016 census. Not an extensive article, but like many of the other articles in this newsletter, kind of a taste of what's going on and an encouragement for readers that want to find out more to go to the website, and we would tell them the link to go to. And that would be a hot link if they looked at it digitally, and it would be a link they'd have to enter if they got the paper copy. Content review continued. We want to obviously do a little article about the Heron Business Park, and I probably should have mentioned the Heron Business Park earlier, but you know, we've got the overall servicing work underway for Heron Business Park. The article will talk about the fact that sanitary and potable water servicing is done. We're actually currently designing a joint stormwater pond that we would want to work with Cargill on building, Cargill Limited on building for our mutual benefit. And the update I should have given on that earlier is that it's a bit frustrating dealing with Cargill these days because my contacts have all changed, but I'm working on it. And a little article on our first, our build that was done in that park, and the only lot that we could sell without getting the stormwater management done has been sold, and Hogslat Incorporated has built it. And I'll actually need to get an update on their projected open date, but that property, that building has occupancy. If anyone's been out on Frank Street to see it, it is built. Quick little article on the EV charging station. Hopefully it's in and we can take a picture of it. A little article on the BIA and the initiatives that the Mitchell Downtown BIA has done this year. Some of the highlight stories, maybe talk about the new businesses. A quick article on internet connectivity and the $5 million that was announced for SWIFT for Perth County and proposals that are being developed, and a brief little update on the Enbridge natural gas expansion for Moncton. And then finally, for the West Perth content, we're anticipating a one-page article, kind of a feature article on residential development projects, which is really, I think, a big challenge for our community. And there's lots of good news to report on this front. So proposing a full page with a brief intro talking about, you know, the need for variety and the encouragement to have more than just single family, the target markets of everything from our youth that we want to hold in our community and attract to our community, right through to our seniors. The article would have an updated projects map and a little table giving details about the projects that are underway or nearly anticipated. So the projects map, this is not the one we will use. This is the one we're going to use to generate a nice fancy new one. I'll mention to you that 11 of these projects have been around. So it's everything from Upper Thames Village, which is #1 in this map, West Mitchell Developments, #4 here. This used to be the Blaze property, 23 semi-detached lots for 46 units, which we anticipate servicing on early in the new year, coming here at #5, and it's now Mitchell Woods Inc. that is built. That's the name. We've got Bob Scott's East Haven development over here, #6. The only new one we can add this year, is that we have a proposal that's been through pre-consultation for a mixed residential development at the corner of St. George Street and Henry Street. And I'll mention for the benefit of this group right while we're here, but I'm not going to put it in the newsletter yet, that we have been actively working with a on pre-consultations for a mixed residential community on the Schoonderwood Farm, which is north of Huron Road and west of Wimpole Street. And so that's very early days, too early to put in a newsletter or to announce publicly, but we're working on it. And I would say that it's good prospects. It's a good one to be talking about. It's good development land. So the chart that we're anticipating, which would look much fancier when a graphic designer got a hold of it, you can see that the project numbers are down here, the name of the development where they have formal names or the developer where they don't, and the units that are involved. And I've tried to make an effort to demonstrate the fact that these projects are a variety of rentals, condominiums, medium density units, semi-detached, singles, and so on. So that's what that table would talk about. And that's my part of the content. Maybe we can let Sarah talk about a bit of content and then take questions. And so I'll stop sharing. Unless you want to ask questions about mine before we move along. If there's any burning questions, I can take them, or we'll go to Sarah. No? Okay, Sarah, you can. The fire department's going out. So.
All right, let me just share my screen here. Okay, everyone can see that all right? Perfect. So for the county section, the bit of real estate we're going to be able to take up in this, one of the things I think we would like to highlight is some of our successful funding and grant applications. One of the things we try to do is really leverage the dollars we're given in our budget and stretch it as far as possible. So we've received funding through Can Export, through RED, through the Regional Relief and Recovery Fund, RTO4, as well as most recently the Digital Main Street program. So I think it's important for people to know that we're accessing these government programs on behalf of the whole region, but it is benefiting West Perth. Then sort of the bulk of what we'll be talking about, I think, is much of our COVID-19 pivot. We've had to really throw out our original work plan this year and change things up, and all of our projects have really had to do with COVID-19 and supporting businesses as we all deal with this. So this includes many of the marketing programs that we've done, the 19 Days and 19 Ways, some of our video projects, the Perth County podcast, photo contest we ran, as well as some of the direct outreach projects we did where we were interacting with businesses providing PPE kits, our Chalk It Up campaign, or our Local Love care kits and marketing kits. Also as well, sort of connected to the surveys we did earlier on is the recent business outreach calls. Then just some more items, and really we'll just have to see what we have room to talk about because there is quite a bit, but attending, sort of still continuing with workforce development through attending virtual job fairs, generating a business resource website and support line, some more promotional campaigns such as the traveling deal wheel or our social media guidebook that we created, moving a number of our things online, such as the Teeny Tiny Summit that we participated in, and our virtual foreign direct investments, still continuing to work to attract companies to this region amidst the pandemic. We've also had other projects on the go, such as our sector profiles, of course, the transportation initiative, digital service squad, and it's something I think that's worthwhile that we mention is the departure of Continental Tire over the next little while, but sort of the positive spin on that, in that many of the workforce who are going to be seeking employment following the closure will find employment locally, and they're well supported, and we're not anticipating there's going to be any difficulty filling that facility after Continental Tire vacates. That was all I had for my kind of content slides. And like I said, there's quite a bit there. So we may find that there's some some room that we have to kind of tweak. We might not be able to fit it all. It's been a busy year, but we'll just see what we can do to fit it in.
That's it. Is that Michelle has a question for?
Okay, sure. And actually, maybe, Michelle, are you okay with just waiting for a minute and then we'll turn it back?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So, and I just want to include this slide as well because it's kind of a 1-2 punch. It's the newsletter and then the presentations that will follow at the January meeting. And we're proposing that we do the January meeting of the Economic Development Committee on the 20th. We're proposing a 7 p.m. start time, as it's a little more conventional start time for people that would be tuning in, but to see what we're competing against on the television. We would recommend a Zoom format. Participants would need to register in advance, so they would basically contact us and we would send them a link the day before the meeting. And then the agenda would be a welcome from the chair. This agenda looks a lot like our business breakfast agenda, or somewhat. Maybe a presentation from the county covering the content that we just talked about at a high level. A presentation from West Perth, obviously not all the words, but more the graphics and quick, highlights, and perhaps another presentation. And we could look at adding in the Perth County Connects or the Perth Connects transportation presentation. And then we really want to get to an opportunity for questions and discussion from the public. So that would kind of be how we would unfold that meeting. And with that, what I would ask the committee is, I would ask the committee to turn it over to us with that general outline of content. We'd certainly like to hear from you if you think there's anything we're missing or something that we definitely shouldn't cover, and allow us to get the writing done and try to see how many words we can squeeze into this 8 pages and make it look nice.
Jeff's worried that we're going right head to head with Joe Biden's inauguration that night. I could tell. He was wondering what else was on TV, but it's in the afternoon, I think. So people should be sick of it by then.
We're sick of it now.
Anything else on that?
So
Yes.
can I just make, I just want to make a comment. I think the content and everything is really good, but is there any way when you do the content that you focus on the things that are up and coming and the stuff that's already sort of been done, that you're just kind of reminding people this is what's been done, put it at the bottom? From a marketing standpoint, people read the first couple of things and they tend to lose interest quickly. So if we spend all our first few seconds of the newsletter talking about things that have kind of gone by the wayside, we might lose them before they see the stuff that's up and coming, i.e. the busing to me should be one of the top things that the county has on there, because I think from a standpoint of the general public and the everyday person, that's way, way more important than some of the other things that maybe we've already done and are done.
Good. Great feedback. And I think we can use that when we get to that guidance can help us when we start to looking at where we have to cut. So.
Anything else, Jeff or Sarah? Seeing nothing, is there anything the two of you need?
No, but I think if we have questions, I don't anticipate we'll have a question, but if we have one, we may fire it out. If we run into something where we have a dilemma, we may just do a poll with the committee, but I'm not anticipating anything at this time.
Sarah, you're good? So moving forward to number 8, our favorite thing, general discussion. I'm going to start in my top left. I don't know if it is for you, but Steve, do you have anything? No? Okay.
No, I have nothing.
And I don't know if the pictures are all the same. There's me, Ted, Nathan.
Yeah, I sit on the Alma Logan Arena Board committee, and they opened up the library as well as the child care center there. and we got to have a nice tour. And I think they're doing some fantastic stuff there with the money, and it's a great improvement for the community. So if anybody hasn't checked that out, they should.
Thank you. Selena?
Sorry, just trying to unmute myself there. No, I just think that this newsletter is going to be awesome. I just the stuff that you guys want to put in there, I think is great. And I agree with Michelle and what she was saying about focus on the stuff that's up and coming and the transportation piece. That's super, super exciting, especially from my nerd employment specialist side. People having a way to get places is awesome. And I'm excited we're getting to highlight that and get that out to people. So cool. Good meeting.
Thank you. Michelle?
So can I just open a little Pandora's box, and maybe this is to Jeff. So the kerfluffle that's going on in Stratford about the glass company, and if they don't go ahead with it, is that something feasible that we would even be able to consider approaching them, or no, it's just, it wouldn't, our infrastructure wouldn't support it?
So I would say, I think our water system is just as well positioned to support it as Stratford's. And obviously less complicated for us in the sense that we would be fully within one municipality and not across two. So the thoughts crossed my mind. I suspect that I've been following this one fairly closely, and a lot of that water is going to be recirculated, right? There's other political reasons why some communities say no and other communities say yes. And Stratford's worked very hard to get that proposal. I think the water conservation plan needs to be transparently shared, but I don't think it's a project stopper. And so I am with you, Michelle, and I would say to this committee that if there's any rumblings about needing to look at an alternative site, we'll be making a call.
Coralie?
Not a lot, I guess, just in general, as I'm meeting with my clients, there's, I would say, a fair bit of optimism out there. A lot of them, their year's been pretty good despite everything going on. So I think that's positive.
Thank you. Christina? No? Sarah, Kristen Dross, Jeff, me? I think we've had a pretty good year compared to other people, and especially, unfortunately, now what's going on at Cedar Croft and Stratford. Our pandemic, where I'm sitting here, Ted's sitting here, and I think this Zoom stuff is going to be all at 2021, I'm sure, or a lot of it. So, but I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. So the next we have is upcoming meeting. Oh, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I have one, and thank you, Douglas. I appreciate you acknowledging me. I forgot to get consensus about photos. And now that we're all on the screen, how does everyone feel about us getting a mugshot of you? And when we talk about the committee, we give your name and your photo. So the handsome and dashing Steve Walcom is saying yes.
So everybody, you just have to center, because Christine can do this right here, right?
We could take a picture here, but I think what we'll do is we'll maybe ask you to do, we'll have you send your glamour shots in.
I gotta put a tie on. Okay.
Yeah, and if you need any assistance with how to set up a glamour shot, I think Michelle can give you some tips. She's got a lovely photo. I love it.
Remember, we're live here. No?
Yeah, I like it. Okay.
Oh, the one in the paper all the time. So the upcoming meeting schedule for next year. We've got January 20th, March 17th. Could you pick worse days?
We can change them. This is
You got inauguration, you got St. Patty's Day. But they'll be fine, I think. I don't imagine anybody be going out on St. Patty's Day next year. So the June 16th, September 15th, and November 17th. Does anybody have a problem with those? I can't see everybody. Hold it.
I'm gonna, there we go.
Oh,
there you go.
Okay. None seen, so they're good. Anything else? Everybody get out to some church supper because there's lots of them.
I can attest to the Black Donnelly's. I'm home tonight, so Black Donnelly's is right across the road from me, and it's the I think it's the Kirkton Woodham Optimist pigtail
Yeah.
and rib supper is there tonight, and there must have been 50 cars when I came home lined up down the highway to get in. So
My wife just put mine in the oven,
Very good.
so she went out and got it. The Hawks have a supper coming up. The Legion's got the hamper draw. Actually, economic development, the JCA starts again next week for the Legion. Next week, Steve, or 2 weeks? 2 weeks, I think. I'll be selling tickets at the store.
First draw is the 4th of December.
Right.
We start
same as the
selling
hamper
tickets
draw.
next week.
Right. Is there anything else? Well, I'd like to thank everybody for kind of an uneventful year because we didn't really get to do much. Hopefully next year proves a lot better. Anything else? Thank you very much. I need a motion to adjourn. Ted and Nathan, all in favor? Have a nice night. Thank you.